All right, all of you freedom loving boys and girls, Mark Centerline Systems, we're doing a live stream. I apologize, I couldn't do it yesterday. Gonna have to get way better at this, so I'm gonna kind of just kill some time here, just give it a few minutes. I do have somebody who already said, hey, yo, Andrew, thank you very much, sir. I don't know if that's you watching. Starting a little bit early, and I'm just gonna bullshit just for a few seconds, kind of let it kind of spool up. But I guess as I'm doing that, and I got Gene from across the pond. Woo! All right, nice. Well, so here's what I've learned so far, and we're going to get into this live stream. It's going to be about a product that we made. I think this is, heck, I could probably figure this out real quickly, but this is like 7 or 8 years ago. This was one of our first products as well. And then we stopped making it for a while, but back by popular demand, we're going to bring it back. And that's what the live stream is going to be on. But before I get into this, let me just share a couple things that I've learned since the last one. I think I've got the Rumble thing figured out. Apologize to anybody who's over on the Rumble platform. That was just weird because it doesn't impact us on Mission Critical Podcast like it did on Monday here on Centerline Systems. But again, I think I'm cleared hot there, and my little icon-y things are saying that we're live right now on Rumble, X, or Twitter. I'm going to have a hard time. I'm always just going to say Twitter. No offense, Elon. I know it's called X. I ain't got the money to go to court with it, but I'm going to say Twitter. And then over on ScrewTube. But so I think we've got that figured out. But the other thing I just figured out, and this is a selfish one for me. So again, just kind of killing a couple seconds before we start and go into the Edo. But this has specifically to do with the live streams. I'm going to keep them short, and they're going to be more general for us. And the purpose will be for you and myself, whoever's watching this, to ask questions and interact if anybody wants to, because I just found out I cannot embed these videos into the product page over on my website. I'm assuming it has something maybe to do with maybe they don't want a live stream to be on the website because there could be violence or porn or something. I don't really know what the answer is. If you're a tech guy and leave a comment either here in the chat or on this video when it, if you watch it later, video on demand. But no matter what I do going forward in the live streams, because of that confining issue right there, I'm going to do the live streams about the product as more of a general introduction, answer any questions, maybe show you guys some stuff, or on the live stream, whoever's there, maybe be like, hey, I'm thinking about bringing in this pattern for a limited run. It'll be more of that kind of thing. And you can see, and again, an apology, it's going to be hard for me to always stick to that Monday, Wednesday, yesterday and today. I don't know if you're watching, if this impacted you, but whether, I actually think it was probably a solar flare because people were actually talking about that last week. I don't know if it was, but I don't know. It's all speculation. But if you were like a lot of other people, you had very limited cell service here for almost the last, 12 to 24 hours. And that definitely was the case. All right. So we got Andrew here, who was here somehow before the live stream even started. He's got magic. Gene from across the pond. Woo! And then Bug Out XJ 2001. And hello to you too, sir, ma'am. All right. So that's the deal. So when we do the live streams, it's going to be, I'm going to try my best, and I'm just one-man show. Will be pretty easy to handle if it's not a ton of people watching, but it is here for you guys to show you the product, talk about it ahead of time. I'm going to then either shoot the product video as a video on demand, either before or after the live streams. So like right before we did this, I just shot another video for the mud flap because that was a good video, but I can't use it on the website. So I just shot a whole static, just me and the camera video. This is the live stream. We'll see. See, this is where it's going to be way more fun. And hello to you, New Wrangler from China. I know what you did there, but then I'll, so again, either before the live stream or after, I'll have to shoot a more static video because that's what apparently I can't use the live streams on my website. So here we go. We're going to kind of jump into it. You are welcome. I'm glad you love all the stuff that you got there. All right. So on that note, and so seriously, so this is our everyday organizer. We just called it the Edo. Now you can kind of tell by, look at those snap caps. Look at how kind of just the patina. This was the very original one that we had for videos up on the website. And this has been mine. So I've been using this thing on a near daily basis for 7 or 8 years, and it is still holding up. Now there's been a handful of people and just the last week or two asked me about this, but we have, pretty much, over the last, 6 months or so to a year, I did something not too long ago, and then I did another post recently, and then I just got inundated with all kinds of questions. So we're going to bring it back because I love it, and apparently a bunch of other people love theirs, even if they used the wrong type of cleaning material on the plastic. And we'll get to that when I talk about that. But and now are looking for replacements, and other people. Again, it's just a great concept, and I hope you're going to enjoy that. So. And Dennis, thank you for joining. So for everybody who's watching, if you got a question or comment, seriously, I'll try to do my best to stay on top. It's in a slightly different part of the monitor. I'm trying to look at you through the camera, so I might not pick it all the way up in my peripheral vision sometimes. And if somebody's got a great comment or whatever, and if you want to come on and have it be a talking head like me on the video, I can easily do that too. So, but anyway, everyday organizer. So as as the name describes, it's just an everyday organizer. If depending on, what you're doing and what your everyday carry needs are. So there was a period of time where I had, I'm just going to kind of disassemble it and I'll kind of break it down feature wise. Right. So here's the whole outside of the product. Now we just finished our, if you want to say prototype or because we haven't made these in so long, we had to, go back to the drawing board and kind of knock off the cobwebs and then try to figure things out. The new version, there's going to be one really small tweak, but functionality wise, it's going to be the same. And so here we go. Here's the exterior, right? So, right here, you can see I've got a chem light on mine, right? Here, I'll just kind of take this off real quickly. Oh, I'll just go this way. So it's got elastic loops in the spine. And you could use that for a chem light, a flashlight, whatever you want to run. It never hurts to have a chem light, right? So, just run it through that shock cord that your hanging tag comes with on the product. I got Chris G in the house. All right, Chris. But the hanging tag has this shock cord and this shock cord keeper. Don't throw that stuff away. There's so many great uses for it. And here's one of them right here. So on the bottom of this could be a ferro rod, for example, right? Maybe you just always want to make sure you've got 3 forms of fire making on you at all times. I don't know. You do you. But take that shock cord, tie it through the loop or the lanyard portion of whatever you're doing. I like going up because then it's a more concerted effort to take it up and over to loosen it. Whereas if it was down, it could hit something and then pop back up. Does that make sense? Because this isn't going to ever come out now, right? It's trapped in there with that shock cord keeper and the shock cord, it's trapped in place. So you got a little spot on the outside for a pen, chem light, ferro rod, whatever you want to use. And you can see like right now it's closed and I do have loose materials in there. And Chris G's got the original one. Yeah, that's what I got right here, sir. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so it's closed right now. So this retention flap, if you want to call it, that's your pens, your markers, lickies, not lickies and chewies, but you see what I'm getting at. And I'll get to that in a second. But it secures on both the front side and the back side. And there's 2 pockets there. So you do you. If you always know your front pocket is full of whatever it is, your checkbook or your electronics, that thing you use the most or the least, you figured out for yourself. Well, then you only have to unsnap that one part. And then now you can access that pocket and whatever you might have in there, right? I actually have this out. And what I normally keep in there is my checkbook. That's what I normally put in there. So that pocket is the size of the checkbook, but I was just using my checkbook earlier today and I knew I had to do the video and that just kind of rested on the inside. But talking ain't doing, as I like to say. Checkbook, right? Now, I don't know if I see, and this is the problem with live streams, because I'll probably embarrass myself here again real quickly. So this is a newer phone. I think this is a Gal 20, but I modify all of my phones, and maybe I'll do that in a different podcast. But this is a radio mount that I actually drill holes into a case, and then I put it in place, and then it actually stays on a belt keeper at the other end of this, and I never will lose my phone. It's got to turn 180 degrees and come out. I mean, this thing, and so I can be doing this. But so here's where I'll probably embarrass myself. It's a larger phone with a big case on the outside. So I know it isn't going to fit in here with that mount, but just to give you another sense, actually, look, I can get in there with that mount. There you go. All right. So even if you just want to carry your phone in it, right? Boom. All right. So phone, checkbook, passport, right in the rain. You get the idea. These outer pockets, and there's two of them, they're designed for that. I usually kept, when I was really using this a lot and I didn't have my other systems, I had a whole bunch of electronics and my exterior hard drive. So kind of now here with this other computer and this, so I just keep my exterior hard drive here now, but that used to be in here as well. So you get the sense of what the pockets can be used for. Front pocket. Same thing, rear pocket, put whatever, other things that you're going to have in there. And then what's nice about that is, from an organizational perspective, like, okay, the thing I use the most, I keep in the front pocket. The thing I use the least or the most, maybe you put it in the rear pocket. You do you, as I like to say, you get to figure it out. Now, here's the one change. And actually, let me just do something real quickly. No, yeah, let me do something real quickly here. All right, here we go. So these are the original photos and that's mine. That's the one right here in my hand right now, from years ago, right? So there it is, closed. All right, and here's what I'm about to kind of start getting into. So there's an interior space to it, and I'll demonstrate that you can write on, put things behind, turn it into a shopping list. And I'm just right now just trying to give you some ideas on how you can use it, right? So again, there's field notes, passport, on the outside pocket, checkbook, hard drives, phones, and again, and you can kind of see me down here, like, this is a big ass phone and it's still fitting there. Here's something I always liked about it. Use it as a way to keep your kids entertained. Make a little grid. You can see we rigged this up, and actually I think there's printouts online where you can get these little battleship printouts. Turn it into some kind of educational game that the kids could use. Or if you're stuck, the car, you run out of gas, or you're stuck in a snowstorm or whatever, guess what? Now, if you got one other person, you can sink their battleship. Again, you could use it for if you're and there was a bunch of guys, law enforcement and EMS who were using it. Now, this was a more military kind of oriented photo for think about, junior leaders, patrol leaders, stuff like that, but you can put a GRG, a grid reference graphic underneath there, a map sheet, right on it, plan, sketch, organize. That's kind of the whole part of it. That's another one. Here's like, again, just talking about on the civilian side, this is a search and rescue template that my photographer, Alex Messenger, had. And all right, hang on just real quick. Britton Crawford. All right, thank you. And thanks to Jack. And I really appreciate that. BSS, gotcha. And Gene, yes, your wife probably will kill you. Actually, no, because again, going back to it, you could challenge her to a game of Battleship. And if you win, she gets no complaints. But here, again, giving you some other ideas, this is how, and I apologize to the gentleman right now. He's out in, I want to say New York. And he actually sent me a picture that like a news photographer took. He was at, the incident commander, and he was using his to brief people. And that was really awesome. And then Gene, now here you go. Look at that. The grandkids. Yeah. You want to keep them entertained? Put a little something in the backside of the interior that I'm going to show you. Have some dry erase markers, and I'll get into the marker aspect in a second, and turn it into a coloring book. Keep the kids occupied so you can drink beer. That's just another one. Like, again, there it is. Just make yourself a little shopping list, and you write what are you going to get for the groceries right on there, and take that with you. I know most people are doing that stuff on their phone now, so I think that does it. One more thing. I had to throw that in there. All right. Yeah, construction industry, exactly. Let me just kind of get to some questions. Gene, Britton, yeah, thank you. I hope I'm saying it correct, Britton. That's what I'm seeing right now. Gene, we just talked about that. Your wife ain't going to kill you. She's going to love you. Andrew, thank you, sir. Haven't with a wet erase. Yeah, okay. So I'm actually going to do a wet erase here, a dry erase in a second, and I'll talk about grease pencils and alcohol pens too. Construction industry. All right, yeah, get your clean cut. Oh yeah, okay, right on. You go eat some dinner. All right, so and thank you, New Wrangler. Yeah, so here it is. So the other thing, so the everyday organizer, it isn't just a place to put your checkbook, or your hard drive. I mean, which is perfect for that though. And depending on, if this is in your rucksack or if this is in your glove box or whatever it is that you're carrying around every day. I mean, you can just see it's a really nice compact size. If you're in the military, it'll fit in your, well, I almost said BDUs, but it is going to fit in your fatigues and your leg pockets. Up in a breast pocket, yeah, it probably is a little bit too extreme. I wouldn't put it there unless you're into that kind of stuff. But so just before I get into the interior, I just want to point out a few things that are going to be different when we release this. And I kind of want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. I know everybody loves their Velcro, right? For name tapes. I'm just never really been a patch cool guy. I think I got some patches in the roof of my vehicle. I was wondering if I've got any. I'm sure I've got patches somewhere behind me too. I'll use patches that way. I don't necessarily put them on, but what do you guys think on the front pocket and the rear pocket? I'm wondering if we should put a 2-inch thing of Velcro there. Now, if you're doing camouflage, so in the multicams, I have that pattern, right? So for multicam black, multicam classic, and multicam arid, so it's going to flow and it isn't going to disrupt it. But if you're thinking like, what we do a lot of in our photos, Ranger green and coyote brown, it's going to add another splash of color. Or even if you're just doing black, a Chuck Norris, but you're doing it with red thread, even if this was black Velcro right here and then it had red stitching on it, I don't know. I think that's going to kind of really sharpen it up and make it look cool. So tentatively right now, well, maybe we won't do it there. I just answered my own question. Yeah. Andrew, no, go get a haircut. We won't be done. If we're done, it's because Gene started me drinking in the middle of this live stream. So I just realized what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make that an add-on option, just like, that patch panel is for the mother, like that Velcro panel is part of the G3. We figured that just had to be there, but like for the mother and other items, you can always add that as a patch panel. I think that's what we'll do here. I think if you want to put Velcro here, and then you can pick and choose what color. I mean, because maybe you're doing this in Ranger green, Kadura, and you want to splash a multicam black back there or multicam classic or whatever, or a competing color. Gene, what do we got here? Do you have the size folded for pouches and no Velcro for me? I'm not quite sure what you mean, the size folded for pouches, and I don't have a ruler with me right now, but that is probably, I'd give that maybe 7 inches. That's probably about 7 inches right there, give or take. And this way, that's going to be probably about 4 inches, all said and done. Yeah, it's probably 7 by 4, a little bit. I'm kind of guessing right there, Gene. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but yes, it's approximately 7 by 4. And then, well, okay. So back to the potential changes on that. I'll do Velcro here as an add-on, so you can add it on if you want. The one thing that will be a little bit different, and this might not show up as well, but to make this actually work a little better for us from a production side, so you might be able to see right here, there's just like a little thin strip of material that's sticking out from the pocket flap. We're going to make that backing, that piece a little bit wider. You'll see this binding tape better. So again, if you're looking for the color changes, the differences, that'll give you another option to, just to splash it up and add more color. But by adding it a little bit wider, I know this sounds stupid. It's actually making that easier for us to sew. And that means well, I mean, obviously if it takes us an hour to sew as opposed to 45 minutes, I mean, that's 15 minutes difference, and that's less in the price point, right? So there's that option of it. But I think it's going to sew better for us by adding that little bit on either side. So that's the one thing in the pictures I just showed you on the slide deck. It'll just be, it's just a little bit more pronounced, and there might be Velcro here. Honestly, we sat and tried to reconfigure this a bunch of times, and we're like, no, the first thing was really good, except for this one thing on because sometimes you're sewing upside down and backwards, and you want to have, again, we believe in our craftsmanship, and you want to make it look presentable. Well, you can tell, I mean, it gets pretty difficult when you only got your presser foot can't even really get in here. So by adding just a little bit more space, it's going to make it look better, and it's going to save us on time. We'll be more efficient. That means there'll be a price, well, I don't want to say a price reduction, but it'll just be cheaper in the overall cost of goods, how that goes for the consumer. And then now, well, yeah, well, so Chris, yeah, you're kind of seeing it right now because those are really the only tweaks. You know, it's going to be just a tad wider on the side. You're going to see that binding tape more, so that'll go into your color contrast. It's going to be easier for us to sew. And then the only other option is you'll have the ability to put Velcro up here on the front if that's what you want. Now into the, well, and then this is the only other piece. So this is the closure piece. So if you're going to turn it inside out, you know, like I did in that one picture, and you want to turn it into a game or a drawing board for your kids, you know, you're going to use this flap because when you turn it, it's going to hold it in a triangle, you know, inside out. But we are going to tweak this just a little bit. And so I think you can see why right there. So it depends on your pen, but we're going to probably move. This is going to become just a tad just a tad taller on the north-south. That's going to allow me to put this elastic a little bit higher. You know, you can see I don't have a lot of surface area to work with for getting those snaps in there, but that'll give us a little bit more surface area. I can move the elastic up and down just a tad bit more. And I think that's going to trap your writing instruments in there just a little better. Because if you can see, you know, right now they want to push down a little bit. So we'll overcome that. So that'll be the other change as well, Chris, in that. But then the interior is still going to be the same. So again, I'll do this in a big loadout video and talk about it, but just for the right here, right now. So this is a US made clear vinyl. It's rated to 20 below. So it's got a really good crack point, you know, so because you think about it, it's plastic. The colder it gets, the more easy it's going to be to crack or snap. And also the more difficult it is to fold or roll up. So it's got a really good rating on it. I mean, if you're using this in 40 below, I mean, God bless you. I kind of want to figure out where you are, like Antarctica, like trying to find the lost pyramids or whatever. And that would be pretty badass. You know, send me a picture. But the inside, you know, basically, and you can see, like, and I'll just show you. If you can see, there's just a little bit of, I'm going to call it mud or just a little bit of residue. This is 7 years of worth of 7 to 8 years of use out of it. And you can just see how it's still very relatively clean. And in the inside of mine, you know, I've just got some business cards. I got a piece of graph paper so I can just write notes on. Because, you know, if this was all black and you're writing on it, you know, you need that contrast behind it. And then, you know, a little piece of aluminum tape. And yeah, keep it stuck inside of your clothing. You're absolutely right, Britton. You're 100% correct. But just to show you this, and I'll just, so again, I don't know if I'll do this on the video on demand, but for you guys. So this is basically based off of a product I made for myself. Look, if you guys don't know it, I used to be in the CIA. I was an operations officer, a ground branch officer. You can pretty much figure out some of the places I've spent in my life where I've been. And this whole product is based off of something I had my very first tour. So though, you know, again, I can talk about things, but I can't go into some details. But so, you know, as you can figure out, I'm on helicopters quite a bit, middle of the night, all that kind of crap. Sometimes I'm on somebody else's platform and I'm not plugged into their comms, and me and my folk are on our comms. And you just might want to ask the crew chief a simple thing like how many turns, and a turn is how many stops or whatever we're doing until we get to a place. So with what was nice about this, and I literally had, and at the time they had flexible whiteboard material. I basically took some Cordura, I sewed a big chunk of loom tape on one side, and then the flexible whiteboard material on the other side. Because if I was doing a secret meeting with somebody too, I could, you know, like, hey, map that out for me real quickly. You know, the guy would just start drawing on things and I could look at it. And then there's no evidence of any shenanigans or, you know, industrial espionage or any of that stuff going on. But for that crew chief, you know, you could say, you know, how many turns to where, you know, and in the middle of the night, I always get that screwed up on this stupid camera. Like that really stands out, right? So you can put in there and use whatever you want. I personally recommend a dry erase marker as we get into the markers, right? So if that's my shopping list or whatever the case is, like I can shut this, you know, this, you know, unless you're sitting here and just like trying to rub it like, you know, you're doing a bow drill or something like that. It isn't going to be depleted or deteriorate so much that you can't get the, you know, the gist of what you're trying to do. But it literally is that easy to clean off. So it stays there when it's closed and it's easy to remove. I'm not going to insult anyone's background or whatever the case is. Look, there's grease pencils and there's alcohol pencils, right? Alcohol markers. They work just as well. But if you were in the military and you've used grease pencils, you know that they can be a pain in the ass to clean off. It will come off you can clean off, and alcohol pens require alcohol wipes. And as long as you're fine with that, but if you, and I hope the one gentleman sees this video, I don't think he's here right now. Bug spray has alcohol in it too. Do not use bug spray. It'll work, but that bug spray is corrosive, right? And it pitted a bunch of his plastics, right? And it still kind of works, but now there's like big divots and everything in there. So don't use bug spray. You really just want to use like an alcohol wipe, for both the grease pencil and for an alcohol pen. I personally have always found, even in our military maps, when we laminate maps, grease pencils, they're just, writing that one little thing down and wiping it off, even with an alcohol, it just would have been a big smudge. Whereas again, if you're not doing anything super tactical where it needs to stay there, you're not working with a GRG, it's just a shopping list, write it with a dry erase marker. When you shut it up, when you get to the store, you open it up, it's still going to be there. It's still going to be legible. You're still going to be able to read it. And this is accessible, that part, and this will still be the same, my kind of final comment. There's just little itty bitty Velcro up on the top. But when it's in there and it's folded, I mean, it traps it really well. But just to give you an extra, an extra little room of comfort. Oh, and I guess one other thing, there's still enough room in there. Like if you wanted to, you don't have to have your notebook on the outside. You could have your notebook on the inside and just, put it back in there. Business cards, a couple pens, whatever you're going to do. And don't forget, depending on how you're carrying or storing this, if it's storing, in an upward position, just think about your markers. It's the same with every marker. Just have the tip down. Just have the tip down because that'll help prevent them from drying out, prematurely. And then that really kind of does it right there, boys and girls. Well, that's enough for just this live stream. Now I'll see if anybody's got some questions or funny comments. But Britton's exactly right. I mean, it's the same thing with socks, with liquids, you put them inside, underneath your garments, just hands down, whatever the case is. Oh, my last comment on it, I guess. So, look, customers come first. So I build in, when we're thinking about prototyping or if we have new products, I create a work order for Centerline, right? So I'm just like a customer and I'm in line. And when we get to that, we can get to it. So we banked out time from not, earlier this week and through next Tuesday. I believe we'll actually have this done, one and done kind of thing. End of the day, middle of the day tomorrow. Then we've got to again have to do timing runs. We got to make one, and which will be for me or for Cindy or something like that. Because if we screw it up, we obviously can't sell it. We can't use pictures, but that's our final. Okay, now we got it. And then we'll make, between 4 and 8 of them for timing runs so we can figure out what our labor cost is going to be. Then those will go to the photographer for pictures for the website. And just to let you guys all know this, we don't ever sell those as brand new products. So, just keep an eye on some things as, depending on what we're doing. If we have the ones we get back from the photographer, I usually put them on sale because even though they're brand new, but we've been touching them, using them in videos, or he's been taking pictures. They've never been in the woods, that kind of stuff. And that's about the closest we ever have to having on-hand items. So keep an eye out for that. I'll do a little post on that when we get to there. But honestly, I'm kind of hoping we could have this on the website because I can use those old pictures again temporarily. The new version is just going to be just slightly off. I'll probably get a couple just so you can see the Velcro as an option. But it in 92%, 95%, it's the same damn product. This sleeve will be just a little bit more on the north-south. You'll have that Velcro pocket, or Velcro patch panel option. And then that binding tape kind of landing zone in between the pocket and the edge is going to be just a little bit larger because that's going to allow us to sew it and have a better time. Because like I said, sometimes we have to sew, and I'm not joking. You're sewing, you can't even see what you're doing. You're sewing it backwards, and the show side thread, you don't even get to see it. So anyway, that does it because I'm trying to keep these at around 30 minutes. I appreciate everybody who was here watching. Does anybody got any questions or comments here before we punch out? I'll give everybody a second to think. All right. I don't know what it is about that. That guy was the actor in the first season of Spartacus. Then he had met an unfortunate, early demise. I think he had cancer of some type. But I just started watching that show again not too long ago, and he just, again, if you like that kind of stuff, Roman history is pretty cool. I mean, Spartacus, we do know, was a real figure. Some of that history around it, is obviously folklorish and whatever the case is. But I really like it because if you kind of, again, just my final comments here. I know some people don't like when I quote unquote talk about politics. I don't think I give a shit about politics. And I think I've made that clear the whole time I've been doing Centerline Systems. You do you, but I'm going to call shit out where I think it's wrong because I'm still a human being and I'm an American citizen. And until maybe this, something happens, I think I still have a First Amendment right to express myself. And if I don't care what you think is going on in the world or what might happen, that's good on you. And I hope you're doing good research and you're figuring that out. You're coming to objective, proven or verifiable, data and hypotheses. But at the end of the day, whatever just happened last night, and I think it's still unclear. I'll just come out and say it, and I could be wrong. I personally do think it had something to do with solar flares. We're in the solar, there's a name for it right now, but we're in this heightened air level. And people were talking, because I kind of follow some of this stuff on the astronomical and astrological and all that, just so kind of that meteorological side. I like that stuff. So that could have been it. Or it could have been, an attack. I mean, it could have been cyber. It is interesting how it affected different carriers at different levels and in different parts of the state. But the point just being is a whole bunch of people were without cell phone service today. And some of us last night. So my final comment here is, I'm sorry, just looking at comments. I'll get to that in a second. Just my final comments is no matter, it doesn't have to be zombie apocalypse. You going out for a 5 mile out and back, hike, that Mother Nature, the solar system, the celestial bodies, whatever you want to say, they don't give a shit about your feelings and what you think today should be like. That's the day where suddenly there's a mountain lion on the trail or a grizzly, or you get bit by a snake or somebody twists an ankle. So you should always be prepared. And that means, just even small things like this. If this can help you better survive a situation, or a canteen carrier or a gear roll, or just any other piece of gear that's either on your person, readily accessible in your vehicle, because you and I don't get to pick and choose when Mother Nature or the universe, God, whatever you want to say, challenges us. And I guarantee there were some people who were just challenged negatively in the last, 18 hours because of that lack of cell phone coverage. I guarantee that had some negative consequence, first or second order effect someplace, in our country. So you got to always be prepared. Now that's my final comment right there. Again, not trying to, beat a dead horse, but let me just kind of end here on some comments from you guys. New Wrangler, I'm not 100% sure yet, and I don't want to, I'm going to kind of be hesitant to answer. That's why we do the cost of goods, and that's why we make a bunch of them, because, look, I can almost estimate what the material costs are going to be, but then there's going to be labor on a couple different levels. And so I've burnt myself before, so I'm just going to hold tight. Again, I will have to do another video on this. So probably by, like I said, Tuesday of next week, I'll have a very good idea of exactly what these things will go for. And we might even be able to bring them. They might even be able to be on the website by next week if I just recycle some of the old pictures. So I got you, and I'm not trying to punt. Just stay tuned on that, sir. And then I've got Paul here. Ask me, how often do you think about Rome? Paul, I'm sure that's in relation to the meme. If I read you correctly, that's a great meme. And, I'm not going to answer that one either. But I think that's the meme you're talking about. And then here, Booger. Oh, hell yeah. All right. I like that. Booger McGee. Yeah. So you can kind of see here. And then I've got a small piece of VS17 panel. So when we did this before, I did have people asking if I would include some of this type of material. If you've noticed on my website, I've never sold, the small accoutrements or other people's gear. I'm just kind of doing my thing because, but you know, that's a little chunk of VS17 panel. You know, you could use orange poster board or pink poster board, any type of material. And then, like I said, this is loom tape. So if this is under light and then you turn off, you know, the lights, you can, yeah, I don't think this will, but you can kind of see a little bit the glow underneath there, right? So it's a luminescent tape. You can have that as the background, because then that really illuminates and highlights what it is that you're writing at night. I don't know if you heard that initial story, but yeah, I don't think I'm gonna provide anything, because I just think it's too readily available and most people can find it on their own. I mean, you guys tell me what you think. I mean, you know, yeah, I think for just those reasons, I think it's just, you can get a bunch of stuff. I still am laughing at your name. I love it. Chief Kool-Aid. All right. What else we got here? New Wrangler got it. Gene, thank you, sir. Andrew got a really quick haircut, but you're going to have to go back and watch. I think that does it. This is a little bit longer. I'm going to try to do these at 30 minutes for the live streams. And then again, final comment. I mean, I'll end up having to do a second version of the same video. So the live streams for me going forward is just an opportunity for all of us to interact. You get to ask questions. You know, I might throw like, hey, like, you know what Booger just said. You know, should I make a pre-cut thing of a certain type of material, whether it's glint tape or loom tape or VS17 panel, and include that in there? You know, I don't know. Should we accessorize that? You know, leave a comment below. But that's what I'm seeing these live streams for, because I'm going to have to shoot the video all over again so I can use it on the website. Well, you know, so we've thought about that too. And, you know, honestly, Mr. McGee, that's a damn good idea. And I'll think about that. The problem with that though, and you know, and I'm not complaining, this is what we do, but I can see that being a little bit of a pain in the ass. I think we may, you know what, honestly, kind of like the Velcro. I think if we do that, it's a good idea. I think if we do that, it's an add-on. And I look at that, and then I'll have to figure out if we use like VS17 material or some other type of material that's made in America that I can put back there that would satisfy with what you're talking about. I mean, that's not a bad idea, but I think if we do it, sir, I think we'll do it as an add-on. All right. So, all right. I think that's wrapping it up, boys and girls. Got a thumbs up from the Chief Kool-Aid stir. So, all right. Thank you, sir. Yeah, but stay tuned. I apologize. We didn't do it on Wednesday. I am going to try to stick to the Monday, Wednesday. But as I said in the very first one, I'm running a business. There's a million other things going on. I've got a life too. So sometimes shit just happens. So, but if I can't do it, there will be an announcement, you know, or I'll pick it up on another day. So, I'm throwing myself under the bus, and I really do mean it. I didn't even post you know, social media about this until about an hour ago, because I was just too friggin' busy. So, you know, I know excuses are like, you know, whatever. So, all right, now we've got somebody adding to Mr. McGee's comments. That would be a nice added touch. Yeah, glowing. Yeah, like, yeah. So that, yeah. So that loom tape, you can get in big sheets. I mean, I could actually order big sheets of that, cut it down to the size. Now, I don't know if I'd want to sew it in there, but that wouldn't be maybe a bad idea either. But that could just be an insert that you put in the backside. I think Mr. McGee's point would be like, have the whole backside of the material a different color that you sew it in there. I'm going to consider both of those, because it's not a bad idea. And you are going to want to put something back there. Final point. And so I'm sure everybody gets what's being spoken here, and I'm probably just, you know, overdoing this. But, you know, if you don't put something back there, then, you know, and this is ATAX AU, right? The original ATAX AU. So, you know, it'll work. It'll work, but that's what you're going to get, as opposed to that, right? So that's a damn good point, and I really appreciate you guys. And again, just kind of wrapping up, that will be one of the main focuses of these live streams going forward, is to ask those type of questions, get that kind of feedback, maybe even run some contests, you know, like, hey, you know, and matter of fact, and I apologize, I'm kind of being a jerk right now. I should have thought of something like that, and we'll do this again, and I'll give one away. We'll do something on the live stream, and just be prepared for that. Maybe every now and then in the live stream, there's just like, hey, whoever's got the best live stream name or whatever, we'll figure something out. We'll start giving some stuff away. And that's maybe another way to for the live streams. So again, if you join us on the live stream, yeah, and then leave a comment wherever, afterwards. Is this a good time of day or should it be a little bit later? I'm trying to also, make sure that our friends over in Europe and depending where you are in the Pacific theater, those guys can get it. It's a little bit early, West Coast, East Coast fellas, you're probably already having a beer, thinking about the Yankees or some BS like that. I'm sick of the Yankees always beating the Twins in the playoffs. So, I've got a little bit of animosity towards that, but a good baseball stadium. I've been to both old and new Yankee. So, all right, that's going to do it, boys and girls. I appreciate it. You guys all have a great night. And, not trying to be a fear monger, but what just happened last night and today, that shit can happen at any time. And that's what it is. I think we're in, it's called the Maximus or something like that. Maybe that was subconsciously why I did Spartacus, but I think we're in a solar Maximus right now. So we are one solar flare away. Matter of fact, go do your research on coronal mass ejections and some of the papers that have been written and, and how lucky we've kind of been in the last 20, 30 years. Because in the cosmic sense of things, it's like a bullet going right past your head, so yeah. And just imagine what the world's going to be like 72 hours without your TikTok or your phone and crap like that. So, all right, Gene, there you go. We're signing out with a good thank you, Gene. Great guy from over the pond. Really appreciate it. And appreciate everybody for joining us tonight, taking the time to watch, this knucklehead talk, leaving your comments. I really appreciate it. We'll have another video up. That's going to be more of the video on demand. And then stay tuned. So I will be doing 2 a week. I'll get better at this. I hope, hopefully, I promise. And I think I like that idea. I think we'll do some little giveaways in here as well. And both to New Wrangler and I just got to read it one more time. And Booger McGee, WCM, Chief Kool-Aid Steer. Yeah, thanks. Those are some good comments and points. So stay tuned. I'm going to try to figure out if we can incorporate that into the product going forward. For everybody else, you know the deal. Reach out anytime. You got questions, comments. I'll do the best I can to help you out. Thank you so very much again for joining us here tonight. Until then, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. All right, everybody, be good. Woo!